you see? There's a crusade coming.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are excited about this, but this is the new Doom trailer. Sorry, I cut off the sound. I don't want to get busted for it. I don't want to show the whole thing, but you can watch the trailer on YouTube. Um, it's boy, it just brings back memories of the old Doom. I mean, the old Dune movie. You know the one with Sting and the floating fat guy. This looks super good. Yep, I am looking forward to this. Hey, look, Jason Momoa's in it too. And of course, it's all about the spice, right? Anyway, that's the new Dune trailer. I'm super excited about that. Anyway, so we're on what, day 15 of our lockdown, and I don't know why it does this. My OBS always freezes up on me, so I'm gonna kill it and then restart it. All right, so, and it'll probably freeze up on me again. So anyway, here's just a quick update before we get into the review of episode 4 of Raised by Wolves, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. But by the way, so we got 169 new cases with 3 additional fatalities. Remember, yesterday we only had like 66, right? Positive cases. So it's going back up. And like we had expected, right? I mean, we just come off of a 3-day weekend. It was a holiday. People were probably doing things other than getting tested. So, yeah. As people start going about their business again, we'll probably see it spread some more. I'm not exactly sure how delayed these numbers are, because again, like the tests come back like 3 to 5 days later, right? So the tests that were done, like how we always look at the dashboard, right? And it's not really clear. COVID-19 Hawaii was a dashboard, right? It's not really clear like where the numbers are coming from. Geez, I wish there was a easier way to COVID. Was it Hawaii COVID-19? There we go. So I'm not sure exactly like how this number is generated. So it says here week of August 16th, right? Which is like it's September 10th. Right? Past 24 hours, what does that mean? Past 24 hours today? As of today, or as of week of August 16th? I don't know. And even if it is, right? Is this number here for this number of tests? Right? Which I'm assuming that's the case, but you never know. It's not really clear because it's all separated. But I think if you do the percentage, it does make sense. I mean, it does equal out to be, this is 2.3% of this. So I don't know. But again, this is the results. Like, they don't turn results around in 24 hours, right? They turn the results around in like 3 to 5 days. I mean, that's what I was told from the surge test. So again, like, this is the positivity rate, or the positive number of cases 3 days ago, right? So we're always like 3 days behind the schedule or the current date. So, I would think like today's numbers we're going to see over the weekend, right? Because it's Thursday. We'll probably see it like on Saturday or something like that. And I would think the number would go up. Right? Because, people are now, doing the regular thing and going around and doing whatever they need to do, working and interacting. So yeah. So anyway, yeah. So we're 169 cases, right? And what was it? 3 fatalities, 3 additional fatalities. So we're still, I think we're getting deaths every day now. I mean, even, yeah, it's a low number, but, that's still 3 deaths. So the DOH today came out with a statement saying, hey, we're turning the curve. I don't know about that. That's a little premature, right? I think right here, this is the article. It says that it's finally seeing a decline in COVID cases, which is true, but that was going into a 3-day weekend and going into a complete shutdown, right? And now they're starting to slightly open things up, right? The beaches and parks are open. I don't know if that means people are going to go out and use them or not. I mean, it just started today. We'll see what happens over the weekend. But see, this stinker. This thing keeps losing the connection. So here's the case I was talking about. Here's the article. So I don't know. I think this is kind of premature. Just in my personal opinion, I think it's premature to say that, to be optimistic. Technically, it is true. The numbers are going down, right? I mean, where's the Hawaii number? Well, this is for the whole state. So, right. I don't know. It doesn't look like it's going down. Here's the forecast here. So they're saying it's supposed to go down, right? I don't know. We'll see. It's going to go up and down, but we're staying away from the 300 number, so that's good. I mean, again, we'll see what happens. This article, I just threw this in here because it was kind of funny. I didn't see it on the news or anything. This was just something on Civil Beat, and it just kind of caught my eye. And basically, what's kind of interesting to me, so so Espinda had, like, he wasn't forced to leave. He left on his own, or he's going to retire on his own. So he was the head of the Department of Public Safety, right? With the prisons. That was the whole thing. The big brouhaha about that. So anyway, he's going to leave. So Ige appoints, and this is kind of the thing that caught my eye, Special Master. Is that an official title? I've never heard of that before. Special Master to oversee Department of Public Safety. And they mentioned that's not just like a clickbait thing. It's in the article too. Governor Ige has appointed Hawaii Paroling Authority Chairman Edmund Hyun to a new role as the governor's special master overseeing the State Department of Public Safety. And I mean, whether this is a civil beat thing or not, that's just kind of a weird, that's a weird title, right? Special Master. I don't even know what that means. But you know, in today's world where everybody seems to be trying to get rid of the word master and slave, even though that's like engineering and computer and technical terms, they're all trying to get rid of it. It's kind of weird that this title is being used in government. Special Master. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't bug me. It just kind of popped out. It just popped out to me, and I just thought, oh, that's kind of weird. Special Master. I wonder what exactly. Like, I know what a master is. That means you're an expert at something. I don't know what a special master is. Is that like, I don't know, like 13th level black belt or something? I don't know. I don't know what that means. It's just, that was just kind of weird. That anyway, that just popped up, caught my attention, and I thought I'd share it with you folks. Here's another thing that's kind of popped out at me too, and this is funny because this wasn't covered in like in the network news either. And I don't know what to think of it. I mean, I think we see this all the time, right? If I recall, I don't know. But I think it does say a lot of the state of politics in Hawaii. So basically, and I remember seeing this in my mailbox, and I thought that was really weird and kind of offensive. That this was delivered in my mailbox as a midweek, thing. And it's not like I have anything against Amamiya. It's just, this was clearly political, right? And as I spent a lot of my life in advertising and marketing, and so I kind of understand, like, this has got to be an advertorial, right? But it didn't really say, wasn't really clear or apparent that it wasn't advertorial. And even if it was, it wasn't, it was kind of deceptive. Like, it wasn't the full cover of the midweek. It was like a flap that was over the cover, and so it just looked strange. And I know that you can buy that kind of thing, but from a political campaign kind of thing, that's just weird. It just looks really suspicious, right? So and the fact that it had midweek on it, like, I could see if he had purchased a cover, and we see this on Star Advertiser, right? If any of you still subscribe to Star Advertiser, sometimes they put that little flap over the front page, and usually it's like an ad, right, for something. But it's just weird. It has midweek here, so it's made to look like the midweek cover, which is kind of deceptive, right? And so, the other thing that was kind of weird too is, so they interviewed the campaign manager, or the campaign treasurer, right? The campaign still published the disclosure. We put it at the most prominent location. And so what does that mean to you? Like, the most prominent location of something? Because to me, like, most prominent location means like at the top, right? That's what the headline is for an article. right? The headline is the most prominent thing. And it's at the top, it's at the front and at the top. Well, according to Okubo, he thinks the most prominent location is at the end. So that's kind of, to me, that's kind of deceptive, right? I mean, we all know this. I mean, this is just politics. This is just how it is. I think what's more concerning to me is that midweek allowed it to happen. Because again, midweek is it's media, right? And if they publish something, you should have some level of trust that they're trying to get information out to you, and they're not trying to manipulate things, right? They're not trying to present something in a way that's not honest. And so it's just kind of strange that they would allow this advertorial to be published in the way that it was published. And so, and I mean, I would have to agree, like the commission would have to let it slide, because they did the least possible to stay legal. And I think I might have mentioned this earlier, and that's kind of the thing with our government, right? Currently. And that's kind of bad news, especially in a time of emergency. Like, if you're willing to just do the least possible to meet a requirement, it's kind of like if you're doing work for somebody, or you're doing a job for somebody, and you do like the bare minimum. Yes, you met the requirements. Yes, you've done what, like you should get paid, right? You did the work. But it's not something that should give your clients a lot of confidence, right? So I don't know, I just think it's kind of sleazy. And I would say that if for anybody, if any of the other mayoral candidates, or any candidate, did something like this, it's kind of sleazy. But I understand it's competitive, so that's why you do it. But for midweek to do that, that's something completely different. So yeah, so that kind of popped out to me. And finally, like this is another thing, I've been seeing this on social media, and this is like the San Francisco, not just the San Francisco area, like a lot of California is like this. And this is amazing. Like, you would think that this is like a sunset or like a sunrise or something, but apparently this is like all day. Like the whole place, it looks like Mars, right? It looks like you're on Mars. So it's just amazing. And this is caused by the wildfires. Apparently, like, all that material is just blanketing the sky, and it's low-lying clouds of this smoke and stuff, that it blocks out the light, and all you see is this red light, and everything is cast in red, right? I mean, like, even in this photo, there's not really clouds in the sky, right? It's just the sky is orange. So that, I'm not sure about that. I don't know what the long-term effects of this is going to be. They're saying that the winds are going to start to pick up, and it should blow away some of that, the ashes and stuff, and the sky should clear up. But yeah, that's just amazing. I mean, this is the stuff that we think of, oh, primitive people, when they saw, oh, the moon turned blood red and stuff, and they, oh, it's an omen. This is the kind of stuff I think they're talking about, like, happening. You know, maybe, when they said the skies turned red, maybe there was like a huge wildfire going on and they just didn't know it. And they just saw that the sky turned red. That's amazing. Yeah. So anyway, let's go over. Yeah, man, I'm really digging um, Raised by Wolves, totally. And it's really, it's, again, it's not for everybody. Uh, I think I think Westworld was kind of like that. Like, I think most people could understand Game of Thrones because it kind of played out like a story, right? And yeah, it's fantasy and everything, but and if fantasy's not your thing, then you probably didn't get into it. But Westworld was is very sci-fi-ish, and the sci-fi genre is not really, it doesn't have a really big following. So a lot of people just don't get it, or they just, it might be kind of boring. Sci-fi is not exciting. It's not meant to be exciting. It's meant to be thought provoking. And so um, this kind of falls in that genre, and I don't know. I think it's exciting. The production, again, the production is really well done. The acting is really good, and I think the subject matter that in each episode is so far has been really good. So anyway, uh, so episode 4, I don't know what happened. I think they released 2 episodes. So episode 4 and 5 got released today, and or yesterday, because I guess it's on Eastern time when they release it. So if you were up late last night, you could probably catch it um, yesterday. Um, but yeah, so episode 4 is called is titled Nature's Course, right? So I'm just kind of looking at my notes here, and it's the episode kind of deals with it explores the fundamental differences between the Mithraic group and the atheists. I guess the differences between the belief system, right? Um, and it does it in a way where it it uses, like, what would we do to survive, and where do we fit in the circle of life. And so there's some very clear differences between the Mithraic belief system and the atheist belief system. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And one of the things that they talk about, or one of the things that happens in this episode, is um, the use of, like, signs. Like a lot of religious groups, beliefs um, have, like, signs from God, or from something, the signs that lead you to a certain path, or foretells of danger or something like that. And again, like, they're stuck on a deserted planet. They're there to fend for themselves, and you know their spaceship crashed, is destroyed, um, and they both want to wipe each other out, right? The atheists have the necromancer, and she wants to destroy all the Mithraic people, and I think the Mithraic people want to destroy the androids as well, and just they're fighting over the children, basically. So one of the signs that appears, And there's several signs, and it's kind of neat how both sides react to it. So the first sign that we see as a viewer is this rock. I don't know what it is. It's not really a pyramid. I think in the slideshow there's a picture of it, but and they're all kind of huddled around it. Basically, it gives off heat, and so it's not like there's an entrance to it. It's just there, sitting in the desert, and so right away the what's it um, Mithraic clerics declare that it must be a sign from Saul. So Saul is, I guess, their god, and it puts off heat. They realize right away that it puts off heat, and it's kind of interesting because remember, Marcus and Sue, who are Mithraic soldiers, they're imposters. They're not Mithraic at all. They're actually like imposters, right? Uh, so so they're looking at it with curiosity, whereas the Mithraic people are looking at it as with reverence, right? So that was kind of interesting. That's kind of neat thing to put in there, um, and it allows Marcus a way to take control, because Marcus and Sue they just want to get Paul back. They just want to get their son back, and the son was abducted by Mother, so they want to go and get him. But Ambrose, who's like the head cleric, he doesn't want to go after and confront the the necromancer, because he knows they're gonna all die. So he kind of uses the religion as a shield and a reason to not go after the children. So this object allows Marcus to gain control of the group, and we'll talk about that later. There's some other signs in there. There is the appearance of a creature. We don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a ghost. I don't know if it's a hallucination. It can't be a hallucination because the robots see it too. And I don't know if you guys remember, if you guys have watched the episode before, the previous episodes. One of the original children, Tally, was this little girl. She fell. Well, we assume she fell into one of the pits, but we never really saw that. We just saw when Mother found the footsteps near the pit, and she found the doll, right? So we assume that she fell into the pit, but we don't know. Well, we start seeing this person or creature or something, and we hear Tally's voice, and she's singing. So we have no idea what to make of that. So that's another sign that's in there. And then finally, the other sign is so Marcus. Well, we'll talk about that after. We'll talk about that later, because that kind of the sign that appears to Marcus shows up after this big event that happens, and we'll go over that later. But the other thing, one of the things that they talk about, that the children talked about, and father and mother try to explain to them, is so what is death, right? What happens when you die? And that's part of nature's course, right? Like everybody dies. Everything biological dies. And in real, you know, in reality, actually everything dies, even if it's inanimate, right? Everything dies. Uh, but the religious, so the kids who are Mithraic, they believe in soul. They believe in the afterlife. And if you're a believer, right, you go to the afterlife. Um, Apparently, Paul's mouse, which fell into the pit, animals don't go to the afterlife. That's the Mithraic belief. So that got um, that got Campion thinking, like, if he's not a believer, like, what happens to him? What happens to all the animals and the creatures? And what happens to mother and father when they die? And he's told that nothing happens. It's just the end. When they die, it's the end. Um, so he kind of wrestles with that, and like all kids, wrestle with that. Um, what happens after you die? And I think that's what creates the fear of death in people. And also that for Campion, that also makes him kind of a pacifist. Like, he doesn't want to kill anything. And so father seems to be more like and I don't know if this is a stereotype or not, but there's a big difference between father and mother, and they're both androids. Um, and we know that there are different kinds of androids, right? Father is like a generic type of android, and then mother is this like super powerful weapon who was reprogrammed. Um, but father is definitely more practical and pragmatic. Uh, he also has a sense of humor. He's more of a mentor type of figure. Um, Definitely, I think, closer to the group, to the kids, than mother is. Where mother is more of a protector. So father is very honest and upfront with the children. Like, he won't keep anything. He doesn't keep anything from the children. And whether you want to hear it or not, he's gonna tell it to you. Mother, on the other hand, kind of keeps things to herself, and it's like she knows best, and she'll just do it. And that's kind of frightening, I think, for the children. So there's some big differences between father and mother. So what makes father kind of pragmatic in this episode is the fact that the other children, we learned in the last episode, they're the food that they've been eating, that they've been growing. They call it carbos. I don't. It's like a root or something. Well, apparently the pits in them are, when they decay, they turn radioactive, and that's what ended up killing off the first group of children. And only Campion is immune to that for whatever reason. Um, so he can eat. He's eating fine. The other kids haven't been eating because they don't want to die, and father and mother don't want to feed them the carbos because they're gonna, it's harmful to them. So at the end of last episode, father captures one of these creatures that attack the town, and he has it in this like food storage area that's locked in there. So he comes up with this plan to teach Campion and the other kids how to kill an animal so that they can eat. So he wants them to be able to eat the meat, right? Like how we eat pork or beef or something like that. um, and Campion just does not want to do it. He does not want, and I think part of it is, I think he fears for the soul of the animal, of the creatures, And again, like he's kind of a pacifist, so he tries everything to not kill the animal, and that's the struggle between father and Campion in this episode. They go out looking for other things in the area that they could eat, but everything that they find turns out to be poisonous, right? So what happens though is that, again, the title of the episode is Nature's Course. The kids have to eat, and so uh, father eventually gets the other kids to come out, and he's like, hey, you guys are gonna die. You guys need to be able to hunt. You guys need to, if you guys reproduce, you're gonna need to get more food, right, to survive. So one of the girls grabs the spear and stabs the animal. It's kind of funny. Like, it's kind of funny what father told them. What did he say? He says, it will take practice to get over the revulsion the act will trigger. Because basically he told him you need to like stab it and keep stabbing it until the animal dies. And then he says, but those feelings will dissipate with practice. And I think for me, like growing up as a, like learning how to fish from my dad, and then going hunting and stuff, I do recall the first time, like I had to kill something, right? Kill an animal. And it's kind of weird because some animals we don't even think of. We don't think anything of it when we kill it. And then some other animals, it just grosses the heck out of us. So, like I grew up fishing and everything. And, at first you're like, ooh, I don't want to touch the fish. It's just flopping around. And then as you do it, more and more, you get used to it. And then, like cleaning the fish, chopping the head off, skinning it or scaling it and gutting it. It's not that big of a deal, right? As you do it. But doing like a pig that's hairy and, gross, and there's a lot more blood in it. Yeah, I mean, I could see. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal for me, but I've seen and I've introduced enough people to hunting, where I've seen that on their face. So that scene really kind of I could relate to that, and the words that father tells Campion and the group is true. It's just something that you do, and the more you do it, the more natural it becomes, right? It's not that big of a deal. So eventually, like one of the kids, the Campion's just pleading his case not to do it, and of course the other kids are like, well, we need to eat. So that's basically what it comes down to. Like, we need to eat. The oldest kid, his name is Hunter, and this is kind of the Mithraic belief system. So it's like a caste system. So he belongs to the clerics. So his parents are like high-ranking clerics. And then you have like soldiers and other workers and stuff like that. So the clerics need to remain pure, which means they can't kill anything. So if you're a cleric, you can't be a soldier. So right off the bat, he tells everybody, wow, I'm from a family of high-ranking clerics, so I cannot kill this animal. It's like it's beneath him, or he doesn't want to be impure. So one of the other girls grabs it and she stabs it. She stabs it once though, and then she freaks out, and then the whole group turns around and runs away. And that was a pretty funny scene. And father was very, very frustrated. He wanted to teach them a lesson, and he knows the importance of it, but it was just a complete failure of a lesson. So that was kind of funny. Um, let's see. Mother, on the other hand, uh, again, so the kids have these trackers in them, and so that's how the Mithraic people know where they are, and that's how when they ran away the first time, that's how the androids found them. So mother, again, like she doesn't tell them she's removing the tracker. She has this ability to make the kids just pass out. So she's like, oh, it's time to sleep now, and they're like, no, I don't want, and then they fall asleep, right? And then she just goes again, goes ahead and invasively, like she removes the tracker. It's like inside of their foot. Um, so again, that's the difference between mother and father. Like father probably would have explained to the kids, but mother won't. She'll just go ahead and do it. So I thought that was, again, that kind of um, reinforces the difference between mother and father. Uh, let's see. Yeah, so again, father wants to teach the children, and then um, mother is more kind of a coddler and protector. Because even like Campion ran to her, and he was like, this is, look at what father's making us do, and I don't want to kill the animal. And then so mother, spoke to father, and she was like, hey, I don't want, Campion, you know how he is, and like he shouldn't have to deal with that, because he can eat the carbos, so he doesn't need to be involved with killing animals. And of course, father's like, no, if he's part of the group, like he needs to do it, even if he's not going to eat it. Um, he needs to be able to provide for the group. Like, what if something happens, you know, to mother or father? What if something happens to the other kids? Like, he needs to be able to get food. So it's a skill that he needs to learn, and that's just kind of the practicality, the real life lesson. I think that um, that we all kind of learn in life, right? There's things that we don't want to do it for whatever reason, but if it needs to be done, it just needs to be done, and we eventually we learn that. Um, uh, so in the killing of the creature, um, that scene wasn't very very long, but it did bring up a lot of questions, like questions that we've seen in other science fiction movies. Like, what would you do to survive, right? And what would you teach your child if you were responsible for a child? Like, at what age would you prepare them, you know, to maybe go out and hunt, right? And like I was introduced to fishing like really really young, like really young. Like I can't even remember how young I was. It's like I've always gone fishing. Um, but some people never exposed to that, right? And some kids just are just grossed out, and they just don't want to be exposed to that. But I think, like, for example, like hunting, and a lot of hunting communities, um, I don't know. I don't think there is a right age. I think the sooner you expose them to it, like they don't need to do it. I think having them actually go out and kill an animal, go out and gut an animal, butcher the animal, I think that maybe can wait till later. But I think just the exposure of it, um, where they learn that it's kind of a natural thing. I don't think there's an age limit. I mean, I've seen kids, you know, I've seen kids like I don't know, like 2, 3 years old, and they're just sitting there while dad's like, gutting an animal, um, and they don't think anything of it. And I think later on in life, like they're fine with it. I think if you don't ever see that, and you're older, and then you see it for the first time, that might kind of gross you out, and that might, in a survival situation, that might, that could be like life or death, right? Whether or not you eat or not. So yeah, that was kind of a big message in this episode. That whole thing, like, of whether they should kill the creature and eat it or not, and the struggle for father to to get one of the kids to do it. Um, yeah. So so back to Marcus, guys. So Marcus is he wants to go and find Paul. The problem is he's not in charge. He's like second in command. He's part of the soldier class, and that sits beneath the cleric. So the clerics are in charge, and there's this one guy, Ambrose. He's like the head cleric. So he's making all the decisions. He has control over everything because of the religious belief, right? It's everybody's indoctrinated to the hierarchy, right, of power, and so Ambrose is the highest ranking cleric, so he's in charge, no matter what. And uh, despite the plea, Marcus and Sue's pleas to rescue their son, he doesn't want to do it. So the opportunity comes up when the object that they find stops giving off heat, and they're like freezing to death in the desert. And they know that there's heat coming from inside, so Ambrose wants to like blow a hole in it and like go inside. If anything, just go inside and stay out of the cold. And the other clerics are like, well, you can't do that. That's like it's a sacred thing, right? It's a sacred object. You can't destroy it. So he tries to get Marcus to do it. And then Marcus seizes the moment and basically turns everyone against Ambrose by saying that they're being tested, and Ambrose, is failing them and is leading them astray by destroying this object. And I thought that was kind of neat. The other thing that's kind of neat about that situation was Marcus actually hears a voice. Like, we don't actually hear it. We hear kind of like a whisper, but we don't know what it says to him. But Marcus hears a voice. And again, he's an atheist. So his reaction to it at first was like he heard something, but he didn't know what it was. And then later on in the episode, like they run into this criminal who also claims he hears soul. But the guy's crazy, right? He's a criminal. But Marcus is curious because he's the only one who could have heard the voice. So he wants to talk to this dude and find out, like, hey, like, what did you hear? Like, like, is it soul? Like, what is it? um so anyway, we don't know if the voice told him to kill Ambrose, but eventually he ends up taking Ambrose out to gain control of the group, and he does that by basically using their religion in his favor. So now he's viewed as a prophet because he exposed the poor leader, and immediately after he exposed him, the object started to warm up again, and they were able to survive the night. So everything's kind of going in his favor. But I think this is what I think. I think it's going to lead us down this road where it starts off. There's this clear line between the atheists and the Mithraic people, right? The belief systems. One One is a complete non-believer, they don't believe in anything, and the other one is they put their beliefs over everything else. And I think we all know that's not the way the world works, right? It's you kind of need your beliefs, your belief systems. Your belief systems help you cope and deal with things that you don't understand. And whether it's good or bad, it just depends on what the outcome is, right? Um, if you choose the wrong thing, if you you know if you don't know it, like you should enter a room and your belief system says to enter it, to be faithful, to have faith and enter it, and you enter the room and something good happens, then hey, you did a good thing. If you enter it and something bad happens to you, well, then that you were just kind of dumb, right? And I think that's kind of where they're going to go with this, because um, even Father, the androids, so they're intelligent, right? They have this artificial intelligence. Um, they're running into these things that they don't understand, and they don't know what to make of it. And so having, with Father running into what could be Tally, but Tally's dead, right? So like, well, um, how do you make sense of that? If you're an android, if you're an atheist, um, and I think Paul also ran into this ghost, right, of Tally. So yeah, I don't know where that's going to go, but that's kind of an interesting development in this episode. So there's a lot of things going on uh, in this episode. Another thing that was expanded, they mentioned it in last episode, but they expanded on it in this episode, was Father questioning his usefulness in the group, right? So he's just a generic robot. Just his purpose is to raise the children and to make sure Mother is happy. And I think there's more to it than that, but that's what he says. Whereas Mother, like her abilities, are very clear. Like her importance to the group is very clear, right? She's like the ultimate protector. Um, she has all these abilities. I mean, she can she can melt metal with her voice. She's able to create things by melting things and, like shaping it with her hands. Um, there's just, like she's the ultimate protector. So and she's also the, like the incubator for she gave birth to what's his name? Uh, Campion, right? She gave birth to Campion and the first batch of kids. So she's like a true mother. Father, on the other hand, like he doesn't know what his purpose is, and he doesn't know what his usefulness is to the group, and so that's why he makes a strong effort to try and teach the kids useful skills in this episode. More, like he makes more of an effort to do that. And I think that's kind of important too, because especially like what's happening now with this pandemic, like families are being disrupted and are, like people's roles that they thought they had in their life, or in the group is different now, right? Whereas, in the past you might have been the breadwinner, but now all of a sudden, like you might have lost your job, right? Or maybe you got sick, and now instead of you being the caretaker, somebody has to take care of you. So he's trying to figure out like what his usefulness is to the group, because without it, then there's not really a purpose for him to be there, and that's just, he's an android, right? So he's almost like a tool, and if he doesn't have a purpose, then there's not really a reason for him to be there. Um, and I think he wants to be there. He wants to be with the group. So he's trying to figure out this thing, trying to figure out what his usefulness is. And I thought that was kind of very relevant to what's going on nowadays. And I think in whenever we go through any kind of life changes, that might be one of the things that we struggle with, right? Like, what is our usefulness? And I think also, even parents, like when the children go away and go to college, I mean, you spent 18 years raising this child, and all of a sudden, like, you're not a parent anymore because your kid's gone away to college, uh, and you need to figure out, like, okay, what do like what do you do now that you're no longer you know a 24/7 parent. um, so that I thought that was really interesting. um, there was one scene that was really weird for me, and that was there was a scene when mother, uh, she went into this crashed capsule and she was able to, like, access archived memories. And there was a scene when Campion was a little bit younger, and I guess some of the kids had messed with the embryo incubator things and had destroyed some of the other embryos. And so they had, like, this cremation scene in there, which I thought was kind of weird for an atheist group to, especially like for an android. I would think they would do something with the biological material, put it with the plants or something, and use it to fertilize the ground. But they actually ended up cremating the remains and dumping it into one of the pits. And I thought that scene was it was a really short scene, but I just thought that was kind of weird for them to be atheists. It was like they were having a memorial service, but I mean, they didn't say any words or anything, but it was just kind of weird that they did that. um, uh, yeah, and so that's pretty much it. And again, it ends with uh, it doesn't really end with a cliffhanger. It just kind of ends with Tempest, who's the one who is pregnant. One of the girls is pregnant, um, and she's compelled. So she's the one who actually kills the creature, and she's compelled to do that. And again, it's like nature's course, right? So for the survival of her kid, she was compelled to eat. And then when she kills the animal, the creature, uh, she discovers, like, the animal was pregnant. So maybe the animal was attacking the town looking for something to eat, right? I mean, if they didn't eat the creature was going to eat them, right? And it's for the child, and that's kind of like the whole circle of life thing. And it's not really a good or bad thing. It's not really a good versus evil thing. It's just a survival thing. And so, yeah, I thought, and this is just like because I'm a hunter and everything. I thought this was a really interesting episode that kind of I could relate to a lot of things in this episode. So, yeah, I thought it was really good, and it leads you to more questions about um, the different characters in there, because you're starting to get to know them. And this is one of the great things about science fiction films and series, is unlike other movie genres where a lot of characters are, they're all one dimensional, right? Usually you have a good guy, you have a bad guy, and maybe the good guy will go through some kind of a change during this, during the story. But most characters are good or bad, right? They're kind of one dimensional. Um, but in sci-fi movies or sci-fi series, um, people are treated as complex individuals, right? They have different, they can change, and they're introspective, and I mean they have traits and characteristics that remain with them throughout the entire series, but there's certain events that make them question, right? um, what their beliefs are, and what how they feel about things. And so this is one of the reasons why I like these kind of really strong science fiction shows. um, so yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if, I mean, again, you guys got to watch it. I don't want to like tell you the whole plot, and I don't want to like spoil stuff for you, but yeah, I just kind of want to discuss some of the things that happen in the show, and I think it foreshadows what's going to come. So I still need to watch episode 5. Episode 5 is out. I'm gonna watch that, and I don't know if I'll do a review on it tomorrow. Maybe I'll wait for the weekend to do that. um, but we'll see. We'll see. I still want to talk about Karate Kid. If that's, I mean, you guys got to see Karate Kid. I mean, even the kids will love it, because that was a really well done, uh, just like Raised by Wolves is a thinking kind of series. Like you have to be engaged. You cannot just casually watch it. You have to pay attention. Um, you have to go through the questions that the characters go through. In Karate Kid, I mean, Cobra Kai, you just sit back and enjoy it, and it's like just going for a ride and enjoying it. So yeah, that was fun. So anyway, that'll be it for tonight. Hope everybody had a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.